So I was at the used bookstore yesterday, browsing the shelves, and came across this book, The House of Shattered Wings. Read the back of it, sounded really interesting to me, and I was looking around and it says a Dominion of the Fallen novel. And I'm thinking, okay, so this is part of a series or a trilogy maybe. I wonder which book this is in the series, because I don't want to start with book 2 or 3. I want to start with book 1. Looking around, don't see anything about book 1 on the back or on the side. I look on the inside. I don't see anything about it being book 1, book 2, or book 3. So I thought that was a little strange. So I go on my phone and I go onto Amazon because I'll buy books from Amazon, and typically it'll say something like, if you type in the book name, it'll say book 2 of 3, book 1 of 3. Didn't say anything on Amazon about that. So I said, okay, let me Google it. So I Googled the book, House of Shattered Wings. Still couldn't find out whether this book was book 1, however many books in the series it was, because I obviously don't want to start with book 2, review it and say, oh, I'm really confused, and then have someone say, oh, Jeff, you're so stupid. You didn't read book 1. You read book 2 or 3. And, so I guess it's a small rant that I really hate when books aren't clear on which book of the series it is. Now, I probably could have, I was reading between the lines a little bit, the way that was worded, it wins like best novel of whatever. And typically like book 2 or 3 might say book 2 or book 3 or a Dominion of the Fallen novel. And that's what kind of confused me when I was looking at it, because take like Hunger Games, for example. Hunger Games is the first novel in the trilogy. Catching Fire, I don't have copies on me right now, but I bet you that Catching Fire and Mockingjay would say something like book 2, a Hunger Games novel, or Catching Fire, a Hunger Games novel. So you know that, okay, Hunger Games is probably the first book in the series, which made me think a Dominion of the Fallen novel. Does that mean a Dominion of the Fallen is book 1? Couldn't find that. No, it's the name of the entire series. So it took me a good, I'd say like 5 minutes to figure out whether this book was book 1 of the series. And that frustrated me a little bit. That doesn't happen all the time with books that I come across. Typically, I find books that are pretty good at laying out very clearly which book in the series it was. But this one sounded really interesting to me, so I wanted to find out what it was. But after I end up finding out, going back to Amazon and having to scroll down to the bottom where it's like it includes this description on the book, but also says, said it was part of a trilogy, and then book 2 and 3 said like the epic conclusion, or book 2 would be the follow up to the House of Shattered Wings. So it's like, okay, Tolkien, Fellowship of the Ring being the first part of the Lord of the Rings. They had it figured out 70 years ago. Follow Tolkien's example and put it right on your book. Now, technically, Lord of the Rings is technically all one volume, and it's typically sold into 3 parts. But if anyone wanted to read Lord of the Rings, and more often it's sold in 3 parts. I've only come across like a one volume one time, at the store. Typically it's sold in 3 different volumes. So if someone's like, oh, Lord of the Rings sounds awesome, first part, okay, I'm going to buy part 1. Short rant. Label your books better. Thank you.